Welcome back, everybody, to Gotta Get Running. I'm Chris Farley. Phil Hargis is on assignment. Actually, he's directing the show behind there. Thanks, Phil. Thanks for being here. Sorry you couldn't join me today. Very excited today to talk about running, but just a little bit different spin today. You know, we had just finished, Phil and I just finished the marathon last week, the inaugural competitor group Rock and Roll DC or Rock and Roll USA Marathon, and had a great experience. And fortunately, we have someone in town from the competitor group who stayed around for the rest of the week here. And I want to introduce to you Zach Barnhorst. He is the TriRock Series manager of the TriRock Series, which is a triathlon series that the competitor group puts on. Zach, thanks for joining me, man.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to talk some triathlons today. We usually talk running. I'm a novice, so you're going to have to bear with me.
Sure.
And I'm going to hopefully have you kind of walk me through what to expect with these series of races. So, like I mentioned, you're the TriRock Series manager. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Sure. I end up doing everything from going into market and kind of getting the permit process going, speaking with local community organizations and local government, and just kind of getting everything in place to allow our series to come in and put on the great races and the locations we have.
So let's talk about the series. We have a number of races, and I'll go through them. It's the next one is going to be May 5th, and it's going to be in New York City.
Yep.
Following the one that we'll probably talk mostly about is the Annapolis one on May 12th.
Yep.
We've got Seattle, July 15th, Austin, Texas, September 3rd, and September 9th, your hometown, San Diego,
Yeah.
and Clearwater, November 11th.
Yep.
So a number of triathlon races, and are all these new races?
Yeah, so we to go to sort of the beginning of TriRock, we did one race in 2010 in San Diego. That was our first TriRock, which was great, and it just out of the gate, we had, you know, about 1,500 participants.
Wow.
It was a big try. Went over well. We've kind of applied the formula of Rock and Roll Marathon to triathlon, putting a band on a boat, putting bands out on the run course.
That's awesome.
Always a band on the boat, which people love. So in applying that formula, and we just have the pieces in place to be able to produce great races, that are well supported and have the safety element and have the sort of participant experience element and all those things that are key. So after San Diego, last year we did 4 races with Annapolis, with New York, with San Diego, and with Seattle. And the New York race is actually, it's up in Harriman State Park, which is just kind of outside of the city by 35 or 40 minutes. And so then this year we got the Austin Tri folk involved and are using the same operators there, but are kind of putting the TriRock spin on it. And that's a great race down in Austin. It's really well put together with the Jack and Adams guys down there. And then we're out in Clearwater, Florida at the end of the season this year.
I had a great experience, as did Phil, at the Rock and Roll USA Marathon.
Good.
So is that a lot of what we can expect, that experience?
Yeah. I mean, that's the big push, is to take all of those elements and apply them to triathlon.
Right.
From everything from the medals that you get at our competitor group races are nice medals, and you go through the finish line, you can see how well supported what we call the skier zone is, that area beyond the finish line. So yeah, absolutely, that's the goal. And
you are a sub 10 hour Ironman, a sub 10 hour Ironman, which is pretty impressive, guys.
True.
And he is also formerly a USAT All-American. So you've got an impressive resume. I know you're not running and doing triathlons as much now, but you guys aren't really focused as much on those professionals. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, just as the Rock and Roll Marathon is to sort of get people into the sport of marathon who maybe haven't done it and maybe want to check it off their list, or maybe want to make it part of their life going forward. We're trying to lower the barrier to entry with Tri.
Right.
that barrier to entry, as you had said.
Yeah, you know me, yeah, and I did one triathlon. My sister's, you know, she's a really good triathlete, so I've been to a number of triathlons, but yeah, the barrier to entry is swimming for me.
Yep.
And is that the case for most people?
Yeah, I mean, everybody that you talk to, I would say 85 to 90%, it's, I know how to run, I know how to bike, I don't want to get in that water,
Right.
I don't want to swim. So our races, we take that into consideration. Our swims are shorter. We do a 500-meter swim on our sprints. Okay. We have the band out on the boat, which is, it's great fun. Can you hear it the whole time? No, we haven't developed the underwater speaker system yet, but we're going to at some point, I'm sure.
I did one triathlon, and when I was backstroking, I had my ears out of the water most of the time. So
exactly.
I'm sure
you would have been able to hear it.
I'm sure you never backstroked. Anyways, I did. And breaststroked, and so I mean that's something people can do, though. I mean,
sure. And we have, I mean, we legitimately line our courses with lifeguards on paddle boards, and at any time during our races, you can swim over, hold on to those paddle boards, and you're fine. We use swim buddies at a number of our races where you can literally go up and talk to someone at the beginning of the race, and they will come and swim with you through the whole course. So we try and put some procedures in place that make it a little easier. Right.
So so those folks who are first timers, we get a lot of them come through our store. Talk about maybe some of the training that goes into it. To me, it was really intimidating, and I know to a lot of our customers it is too.
Yeah, it's different because you have the three different sports, which it sounds obvious, but it's a different thing than just being able to pop out your front door and go for a run.
Right.
There's a little bit of planning to be able to get to the pool, make sure you have your pool stuff. If you're going for a bike, you got to make sure you're in an area that you can bike. But you know, as far as the amount of training that's needed to do one of our sprints.
Yeah, what kind of time commitment am I talking about here?
Yeah, it's really not much. I mean, with our Annapolis race, for example, it's a 500-meter swim, a 12-mile bike, and a 3-mile run. Wow. It's short. Not that you shouldn't be training to be safe. You should, but you could legitimately roll off the couch and do it. I'm not suggesting that, but you could. And so if you can get a half an hour of training in every day between the three disciplines, you're going to do that for a couple months, and I think you're going to be up to speed to be able to do the race.
So the DC triathlon was canceled, unfortunately.
True.
And you guys have stepped up and have offered some options for those folks, because I know I've heard a lot about that from our customers. So what can those folks do? Yeah,
and so that was Chuck and Molly, who still owned the DC Tri, and that has turned into a situation where you can take your registration if you were signed up for that race, and you can transfer it over to our Annapolis race, our New York race in Harriman State Park, a couple of the rock and rolls, and I apologize, I forget which races specifically, but it's on the website there, or to the Nation's Tri. Okay, so the Nation's Tri is also an option. Wow. Yes. Okay. Yep. So locally, Annapolis is going to be a big draw for our people here in the DC area. So that's May 12th. It is a sprint distance, right? So. Yep. You said that's the 500 meters. Again, tell me, 500 meter swim, 12-mile bike, and then 3-mile run. Yep. Maybe there was a course change with this. Yeah. Last year, we were only able to get the not to get too technical, but we go up Ritchie Highway over the Naval Academy Bridge and up Ritchie Highway. We were only able to get the shoulder and the what's called the number 2 lane. Of the southbound side of Ritchie Highway. Okay. And there was still car traffic coming down the number 1 lane. So we essentially had a lane plus the shoulder, and it just got too tight. And it's a great race, and that was kind of our Achilles heel, I think, last year was it just got too tight on that bike course. So the 2 things that we've done to mitigate that problem are, 1, we are going to take over the entire southbound lane, so that's both of those lanes going southbound plus the shoulder, which widens the course and makes congestion all the less. And then we're also going to change the timing on our waves to extend and spread those riders out, and it should do a good job of spacing. How many people are in Annapolis? We'll end up selling out at 1,300 participants this year.
So we talked about the course change because I'm sure there's a lot of people who are doing it again and had a great experiences.
Yeah.
I can't believe you do the permits for all these races, which is amazing to me. So I know we put on races, and getting the permits is a difficult process. I can't imagine being in San Diego and getting them from Annapolis.
A lot of time in Annapolis.
It really does take a partnership with a number of people. And talk about your partnerships in Annapolis. Yeah,
so we have partnered with the Annapolis Tri Club and Ashley Halsey, who's the president there, and they're just awesome because they're just tri at their core. Right. They love it, and they wanted the race so badly last year, and they've done everything that you could imagine to make it happen. They do a bike check at the end of the race. So if you have your bike and you're thinking about going to a bar, you can just take your bike and put it in the bike check that those guys set up. So they'll do that again this year. But we've really partnered with them and made this Annapolis Tri Club and competitor group event and TriRock event this year. Yeah. And some local businesses. I hear there's a great ice cream shop there. Great ice cream shop. Yeah. No, there is. One of the things with permitting and with Annapolis and that downtown area is it's very affected. When we go down and we're bringing a lot of people in who love triathlon, but we're also affecting some of the businesses. And Storm Brothers Ice Creams, we have sort of cut them off last year. We've done a good job this year of allowing access, but it's great to sort of give them a plug. And Sophie's Crepes, we're working with them to make sure that they're not negatively affected in the Harbor Queen Watermark Tours. So it's been great to kind of get into the market and work with those guys to make sure we're not negatively affecting them. That's great. Yeah, and it does take a lot of people, and there's a lot of moving pieces. So I know you're going to make as the least amount of effect as you can. And you've got a lot of great sponsors, including Land Rover. And I hear there's a $1,000 coupon. Yeah, that is the rumor. It's the $1,000 coupon for participants when you sign up if you want to go buy a Land Rover. I'm not quite in that tax bracket yet. Right. Yeah. But yeah, they're a great sponsor, and ASIC's doing all of our merch and our participant dues and that sort of thing. Yeah. And then you've got Vitalite and Red Hook as well. Yep. Red Hook Beer Garden at the finish line. And we'll talk about that. I want to talk about the finish line, but I want to talk about, for the first timers like myself, what would I expect? Because it is different, and we really would like to, transfer some of these runners into these triathlons. And what is there to expect? There's a bike check, there's, swimming. I mean, there's a whole lot of different things that would go into just running a race. Sure. Yeah, and I think that our goal as a series is to get people who've never done triathlon, but I think a big part of that is people who are already in the endurance space and people who run. So trying to make our races as participant friendly as possible with the medals and the skier zone stuff. The band on the boat, the band's out on the run course. Yeah. We do a drum line out on the bike course. That's awesome. So you can experience it while you're going 20 miles an hour. But I think all of those pieces are attractive, and so we try and combine all those pieces into one kind of ultimate triathlon experience. So the day before, you go to the expo, or a couple days before, do you check your bike the day before? How does that work? So for Annapolis, and it's different. Yeah, talk about Annapolis specifically. For Annapolis, down at City Dock, we will take over Susan B. Campbell Park, which is just kind of off the tip of the City Dock area there. And we will have our tents and our expos and vendors down there who are just displaying their stuff, ASICs and their merch, and Land Rover will have a tent. And you come down, you pick up your packet. You do not drop off your bike on that Friday. Okay. That'll be from 11 till 4 is our expo and packet pickup hours, which it's mandatory to come down, pick your packet up. You'll get your timing chip and your swim cap and your wave assignment and all that good stuff. Sign your waivers for USAT. But it's a fun experience. also, during that expo time, we'll do some clinics that are geared towards beginners and what can you expect and what to look out for on the bike course. And we really encourage people to come and sit for the course talks, where we kind of say what to expect out on the course and where you're going.
Now, I just got a rickety old 10-speed. So am I going to be embarrassed out there? I know your bike is amazing.
Absolutely not.
And people will spend more money on their bike than they do their cars.
You know, for our San Diego race last year, the last couple years, we've been doing a beach cruiser division. If that gives you any indication.
I'm in for that. I'm going to take notes on that. Phil, you hear that? Beach cruisers division. Me and you, buddy. Yeah.
So it really is. I mean, with a 12-mile bike, you can get out there. You don't need to have the $6,000 tri bike with the aero bars. It'll make you go faster if you do.
No doubt. Yeah, but you don't necessarily have to.
No.
I won't be laughed at. Okay,
No.
cool. So when I finish, we got the red carpet finish line. The free beer.
Free beer.
Free beer,
Yeah,
that's
Red Bull is
amazing.
donating
That's
free beer.
amazing.
You know it.
Free breakfast, a post-race concert. Do you have a band lined up? Switchfoot was amazing at the marathon this past
we
week.
wish we could get Switchfoot to come down.
Not this year for Annapolis.
But who knows? Who knows what might happen in the future? We got a band lineup. We'll keep it a secret for now, but it's a nice tribute to another band is what it is. So
Awesome. That's great.
Be a good time.
That's cool. Premiums for the racers. This is the official promo shirt. This is not the race premium shirt, but Phil, get on that. Yeah, there you go. And a pretty cool shirt here.
All of our friends who signed up at the Rock and Roll USA Expo got one of these shirts for signing up, which was great. And we had a lot of activity, a lot of people signing up. So there'll be a bunch of these floating around.
So what do the racers get? What do you get do you get a swim cap when you sign up for a race? Do you get a shirt? Do you get? What is that like?
Yeah, both those things. You get a swim cap with your packet, and then you'll get the tech tee when you show up at the expo and pick your packet up. There will be a separate section. Nice ASICS has helped us put those together, and they'll also have their merch tent if you want to get maybe a long sleeve tee or more of a lifestyle tee, something a little more akin to this. But yeah, we should have some nice accoutrements.
So the gear. Again, being a novice, we rent some wetsuits at Pacers. Do you need wetsuits for this type of event or any of your events?
Yeah, we're our New York event. You probably need a wetsuit.
And why would you need a wetsuit? I don't understand. What's the?
It's the New York event. It's early. It's May 5th. The water is probably going to be down, low 60s. More than likely, it's a possibility of being higher than 65, but unlikely. The Annapolis event. It's in that period where the water it just kicks, and in 2 days it can stretch 10 degrees. So last year there were certainly people out there who were not wearing wetsuits. The wetsuits make you go faster.
Oh, okay.
Is the other thing. They give you a little buoyancy.
Right.
Your feet aren't dragging anymore. So I've always worn one just.
So what makes I've heard wetsuit legal or not legal, or is that the water temperature? Or?
Yeah, there's a water temp. If it gets too warm per USAT rules, at first at 78 degrees you are no longer eligible for awards, but you are allowed to wear a wetsuit. And then at 82, I believe, and I hope I'm not misquoting that, at 82 degrees you are no longer allowed to wear a wetsuit in the race.
And I only know this stuff because just the triathlon in general has just grown exponentially over the last few years.
Yeah.
And probably when you were first getting into it, it wasn't. The landscape has totally changed, and there's probably tons more events. Is that correct?
Yeah, outside of what we do, our series has expanded greatly, but there are races everywhere, which is great. It just gives people more opportunity to get in and get involved in the sport. And I just think it's a great thing for the sport of triathlon.
Right. And so when you were training, did you have any races like the TriRock series, or is this, you didn't compete in anything like this? Huh?
No, there were certainly the smaller local races that were less intimidating.
Right.
I trained Ironman, and training for Ironman is a very different thing than training for your local sprint race.
Right.
But part of what's great about Ironman is they do a big push for the participant experience, and no one was really doing that for a sprint race, and that's sort of where we saw the void, and what we've tried to fill is we really do put an emphasis on the production and on the experience, and bring that into a smaller distance race so that you don't have to be out there for 10 hours to try and have a good time.
To do an actual event.
Yeah, exactly.
So what can we expect you to be what do you specifically, what does Zach Barnhorst do on race day?
On race day, I'll probably have 2 walkie-talkies and 2 phones on me, and I try to stay down at the transition area and the swim area. I've got a great bike course guy and a great run course guy, and their respective teams that are implementing the setup and execution of those courses. I've got a great venue team who implements and executes both transition and the expo and finish line areas. And so I'm kind of there I try not to give myself tasks on race day, because undoubtedly, as you know,
stuff happens.
And it's, you're talking to the Coast Guard, you're talking to the harbor master, you're talking to the police. So you kind of make yourself available for fires to put out.
Yeah. And how many people do you have, let's say, at Annapolis? How big is your team?
We'll end up having probably 25, probably
25 staff. Wow.
Yeah. 15 core, and then another 10 or 20 folk out there just helping out in different facets.
It's an amazing production that goes into it, and I'm sure another number of volunteers.
Oh yeah, and then we'll have a great crew of volunteers. Hopefully a lot of the folk that came out last year will come out again, but we'll probably have between 200 and 250 volunteers.
Yeah, and can you still volunteer for Annapolis?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you go to our website, TriRockSeries.com, there's a big volunteer button, and you just plug right onto the volunteer buttons. Volunteer.
Right.
The volunteers are great. They make the race happen.
And the volunteers, do they get a premium as well, or they?
Yeah, volunteers will all get a awesome race crew T-shirt, also from ASICS, and we'll allow them in for some post-race festivities, and provide them with food and all that kind of good stuff.
So we've got May 5th. Let's recap. May 5th, New York. We got May 12th. Annapolis. So the New York one, is that a first year event?
We took New York over last year. SBR is a shop up in Manhattan, so we took their race over, and then it was sort of a change, because the hurricane that happened up there destroyed Lake Sebago, which was our venue last year. So we've changed it over to Lake Welch, which in turn made us change the date that we could do it on. So
and all your races, you're swimming in open water.
For the most part. New York's in a lake. Annapolis, they're right off City Dock. But yeah, nothing's pool. San Diego is great. If you can get out to San Diego, it's a great race. It's right off the South Embarcadero Park downtown. Austin's in a lake, so yeah, they're all open water.
And then Clearwater is also an open water.
Yep.
And you get your participants, a lot of first timers. Are these guys traveling? Is this a destination for a lot of your participants?
Yeah, it's mixed. We have people. I talked to a couple over at the expo for the USA who was talking about doing all 6 races. They said, "What do we get? Awesome. What do we get if we do all 6 races?" We'll get you something.
We'll find something. Yeah.
So people travel, especially if it's on the East Coast. Less people will travel across the country.
Right.
But people will make it up to the New York race and make it down to the Annapolis race, and hopefully head down to Clearwater for the late season race.
Yeah, I saw on the website there's an opportunity to tell us your story, and everybody has a story who's doing the events, and your story when you're professional or as competitive is different than somebody else's story who's a first timer.
Right.
Do you know any stories out there of folks or?
Yeah, I mean the tri community, I think, is, and this is true of running too, but I think the stories that really sort of pull on the heartstrings are those folks who have used this sport to make a significant change in their life, and it's so often that's the case. It's not just I'm going to go out and try doing tri. It's I really need to switch the way that I think and switch the way that I live, and those types of things I think are very powerful, and it makes us all feel good.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you experience it too. It makes you feel good to be doing what you're doing, because you can truly make a difference in people's lives.
I mean that's really why we started the show, was to kind of spread the gospel of running, and
Right.
to encourage folks to make a change, and to have folks like you on to let them know that that the triathlon is not as intimidating, and we really would like to see as many people out there as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Annapolis is May 12th, New York is May 5th, Seattle is July 15th, Austin September 3rd, San Diego September 9th, Clearwater November 11th. So if you guys if you've done any of the competitor series of races in the past that are the runs, I think that type of person would really enjoy this race.
Yeah, absolutely.
So good. All right, Phil. I appreciate you directing today. This has been our first inaugural triathlon show, so I hope that we touched on most of all that you wanted to talk about.
I think so.
And I really appreciate you joining us. That is Zach Barnhorst. He is the TriRock Series manager. Again, we've got a series of 5 triathlons, six triathlons that if you've done the competitor group half marathon or marathons, and are interested in running a triathlon, I think this is the place where you should enter the sport. So Zach Barnhorst, TriRock Series manager, I appreciate you joining us.
Chris, thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
And we will see you guys next time on Gotta Get Running. Thanks, everybody.